A young billionaire was walking late at night and saw a young black girl holding a newborn. When he asked and heard their names, he broke down in tears. The November night was colder than usual when William left the office. He shoved his hands into his coat pockets as he walked alone through the partially empty streets. The day had been like so many others: endless meetings, tight deadlines, and the constant feeling that something was missing in his life. He decided to take a shortcut through Greenford Park. The soft yellow glow of the street lamps barely lit the path, but he knew that route by heart. That was when he heard it, a weak cry, almost drowned out by the wind. He stopped, tilting his head to identify where it was coming from. He followed the sound to a bench partially covered by the shadow of a tree. There, curled up against the cold backrest, was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old, with dark curly hair and deep brown skin. But what really caught William's attention was what she clutched to her chest, an armful of blankets from which the crying noise emerged. "Hi," William said gently, stopping at a safe distance. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up quickly, startled. Her eyes, even in the dark, showed fear but also something else, determination. Immediately, she hunched over the bundle like a human shield. "Don't come closer," she warned, her voice trembling but firm. William raised his hands, showing he had no intention of approaching without permission. "It's all right. I just want to help. It's too cold for you to stay here." The baby in the blankets cried louder, and the girl tried to rock him awkwardly. "What are your names?" William asked, keeping his voice calm. The girl hesitated, studying him with suspicion. After a few seconds, she answered, "I'm Nia, and this is my brother Malik." William felt like the air had been knocked out of his lungs. Nia Malik. His legs weakened, and he needed to steady himself on the bench. Unexpected tears blurred his vision as a wave of memories swept over him. Claire smiling, curled up against him on the couch, a pen between her fingers as they scribbled names in a notebook. "Nia for a girl," she had said, looking at him with those eyes that always seemed to see right through him. "It means purpose, radiance. And if it's a boy?" he asked, kissing her forehead. "Malik," Claire replied without hesitation. "It means king, protector. That's what our child will bring to our lives." They had planned everything, the house, the names, the future, until one day Claire simply disappeared from his life. "Sir, are you all right?" Nia's voice brought him back to the present. She was watching him, her suspicion now mixed with concern. William quickly wiped away his tears with the back of his hand. "Yes, I'm fine," he replied, trying to smile. "Sorry, it's just those names are very special to me." The baby Malik cried again, more insistently. Nia tried to soothe him, but it was clear she was exhausted. "Have you been here long?" William asked. Nia lowered her eyes. "Since it got dark." William looked around. The park was deserted, the temperature kept dropping, and these children clearly needed immediate help. "Nia," he said, choosing his words carefully, "you can't stay out here in the cold. Malik could get sick." For the first time, he saw the girl's brave facade falter. She looked at the baby with genuine worry. "I live nearby," William continued, "a warm, safe place. We can feed Malik, and you can rest. What do you think?" Nia bit her lip, obviously torn. Her instincts told her not to trust strangers, but her little brother needed help. "Will you take care of us?" she finally asked, her voice small. "I will," William answered and realized he truly meant it. Slowly, he stepped closer and offered his coat to wrap the baby more securely. Nia allowed him to approach, but her watchful eyes missed nothing. "May I carry Malik?" he offered. "He must be heavy for you." After a long hesitation, she nodded. When William took the bundle, his heart pounded. The baby seemed no more than a few weeks old, tiny, fragile, and now under his protection. "Come," he said, extending his hand to Nia. After a moment of indecision, she took it. They walked in silence through the dark streets, Nia clinging to William's hand, constantly glancing at her brother in his arms. Malik had calmed down a bit, but he still made small sounds of discomfort. "This is it," William said, indicating the elegant building ahead. Nia looked up, her eyes wide at its height. "You live here?" "On the top floor," William replied, guiding her inside. In the elevator, he noticed how tense Nia was, ready to bolt at any sign of danger. "It's all right," he assured her. "You're safe now." When the elevator door opened directly into the penthouse, Nia let out a quiet gasp. William's apartment was spacious and well-decorated, but cold in its perfection, as though no one really lived there. "Let's take care of Malik first," William said, leading them into the living room. He turned on the heater, and delicately placed the baby on the sofa. "Does he need to eat?" Nia nodded, not taking her eyes off her brother. "He's hungry. I'll need to go out to buy some formula for him. Will you be all right for a few minutes?" He saw the fear in her eyes again. "You'll come back." William knelt to be at Nia's eye level. "I'll come back, I promise." As he headed to the door, he looked back. Nia had sat down beside her brother, her small hand stroking the baby's face. That image of protection, unconditional love hit him hard. Nia, Malik, the names he and Claire had chosen for their children. A cruel coincidence or something more he couldn't say, but he was sure of one thing. His life had changed forever on that cold November night. William returned from the pharmacy at record speed. He came into the apartment loaded with bags, baby formula, bottles, diapers, and some basic groceries. He found Nia exactly where he had left her, sitting next to her brother on the couch. Her tired eyes had not strayed from the baby for even a second. "I'm back," he announced softly, so as not to startle her. Nia looked up, a mix of relief and caution on her face. "Malik hasn't stopped crying. We'll fix that right now." William went to the kitchen and prepared a bottle according to the instructions on the package. He tested the temperature on his wrist like he'd seen in a movie somewhere. He returned to the living room and held out the bottle to Nia, but hesitated. "Would you like to feed him, or would you rather I do it?" "I'll do it," she replied promptly, taking the bottle with surprising skill for someone so young. She positioned the baby and placed the bottle correctly. Malik began to drink eagerly. "You're really good at this," William commented, sitting in an armchair across from her. "I always help with him," Nia said, her eyes fixed on the baby. William studied the girl. Despite her age, she carried herself almost like an adult, the kind of responsibility no 6-year-old should ever have to bear. "Nia, we need to take your brother to a doctor for a checkup," he said gently, "just to make sure he's okay." The girl clutched the baby tighter. "They're not going to take him away, right?" "No, of course not," William assured her. "You two will stay here with me, but newborns need special care, and I want to make sure Malik is healthy." After a few phone calls, William managed to find a pediatrician, an acquaintance of a colleague, who agreed to make a house call even at that hour. While they waited, William prepared something for Nia to eat. She accepted the sandwich, but ate with only one hand, refusing to let go of Malik. "You can stay here tonight," William said. "I have a guest room we can set up." Nia just nodded, her eyes heavy with fatigue, but still alert. Every noise made her glance at the door as though expecting someone to appear at any moment. The doctor's arrival visibly tensed Nia. She watched every move with weary eyes as the pediatrician examined her brother. "He's a healthy baby," concluded the doctor, putting his instruments away. "Carried to term, responding well, no signs of dehydration. Despite the circumstances, I'd guess he's about 2 weeks old." 15 days, Nia corrected. The doctor smiled at her. "You're a great big sister." After the pediatrician left, William noticed how exhausted Nia looked, dark circles under her eyes as she struggled to keep them open. "I think it's time for a bath and then sleep," he suggested. "What do you think?" "Malik first," she insisted. In the bathroom, William filled the sink with warm water. Sensing his uncertainty, Nia took the lead. "You have to support his head like this," she demonstrated, placing one hand under the baby's neck and clean him gently. William watched in admiration as the 6-year-old expertly cared for her brother. Together, they bathed Malik, dried him, and dressed him in a onesie William had bought in haste. "Now it's your turn," he told Nia. The girl looked at her brother, hesitant to leave him. "He can stay in the bathroom with us," William reassured. "I'll keep him right here." Finally agreeing, Nia let William fill the bathtub for her. He stepped out to give her privacy, leaving clean towels and a child's pajama set that had once belonged to a niece who had visited him. "Call me if you need help," he said before partially closing the door. While he waited, William improvised a crib for Malik. He remembered reading somewhere that newborns could sleep in drawers when there was no crib available. He emptied the widest drawer of the guest room dresser, lined it with clean sheets, and set it on the bed. As he organized the room, his thoughts drifted. The coincidences were too many to ignore, the children's names, Nia's age. But now wasn't the time for such reflections. The children needed immediate care. Nia emerged from the bathroom, wearing pajamas that were slightly too big. She carried Malik wrapped in a towel. "Come see where you'll sleep tonight," William said, leading them to the guest room. Nia looked at the makeshift crib, and for the first time, a small smile appeared on her face. "Like a little nest," she said. "Exactly," William agreed. "A cozy little nest for Malik." She carefully set her brother into the drawer crib, then climbed onto the bed and lay next to it, keeping one hand on him at all times. "You must be so tired," William commented, pulling the covers over her. "I have to take care of Malik," she mumbled, already fighting sleep. "I'll stay here," he promised. "Now you can rest." He sat in the armchair in the corner of the room. Nia still watched him distrustfully, but fatigue won out. In minutes, her eyes were closed. William remained there, gazing at the two children fate had placed in his care. Malik slept peacefully in his improvised crib, and Nia had finally surrendered to exhaustion, but even in sleep, she kept a protective hand on her brother. The situation felt surreal. In one night, his empty and silent apartment had become a refuge for these two vulnerable children, and those names, Nia and Malik, kept echoing in his mind, stirring memories of a future that had never come to pass. He looked out the window at the city lights. Tomorrow, he would need to learn more about their situation and figure out a way to help them, but for now, they were safe. During the night, Malik woke up twice. Both times, Nia woke instantly, ready to tend to her brother. William helped with diaper changes and bottle preparation, impressed by the girl's protective instinct. "You can sleep," he said while feeding Malik the second time. "I'll take care of him." Nia hesitated, still distrustful, but weariness prevailed. She lay down again, though her eyes stayed on him until sleep finally overtook her. William stayed awake the rest of the night, watching over the children. He thought about how his life had completely changed in just a few hours. He had left that morning for just another day of work and returned to an apartment that now sheltered two children. Morning light began to fill the room, a faint winter glow slipping through the curtains. Malik slept peacefully, and Nia was finally... William realized that for the first time in a long while, he felt truly needed. Whatever happened next, these children needed him now, and in some strange way, he needed them too. He took out his phone and silently snapped a photo of them, both asleep. He didn't know why, maybe to remember this surreal moment, maybe to have something to show if all of this ended, or maybe because deep down he already knew these two little ones had found a place in his heart. Morning arrived with the first rays of sunlight streaming into the guest room. William, who had dozed off in the armchair, awoke to the gentle sound of Nia humming to her brother. She was already sitting up in bed, cradling Malik. "Good morning," he said, rubbing his eyes. "Did you sleep well?" Nia nodded shyly. She seemed more relaxed than the night before, though she still kept that protective stance toward the baby. "Malik woke up hungry," she explained. "I'll make breakfast for all of us," William offered, standing up. "Do you like pancakes?" The girl's eyes lit up for a moment. Mom used to make pancakes on Sundays. It was the first time she mentioned her mother voluntarily. William tried to seem casual as he prepared a bottle for Malik. "What's your mom's name?" he asked, handing the bottle to Nia. "Claire," she replied simply. William almost dropped the bowl he was holding. Claire, the same name as the woman who had left him, taking all hope of a family with her. Another coincidence. "Claire," he repeated, trying to keep his voice steady. "That's a pretty name." Nia nodded, adjusting Malik so he could drink. "Mom's really pretty too. She has dark hair like mine and plays the piano really well." Piano, another link. The Claire William had known was a pianist who'd studied at a conservatory. "She teaches piano," Nia continued, not realizing the impact of her words. "People come to our place to learn." "Where do you live?" William asked casually, beginning to make pancakes while trying to stay calm. "In a small apartment near Maplewood Park. We only have one bedroom. I sleep with Mom, and Malik has a tiny crib next to us." William pictured the simple apartment Nia was describing, so different from his own spacious and impersonal penthouse. "But it's nice," the girl added as though defending her home. "There are flowers on the windowsill and Mom's piano in the living room, and we have lots of books too." "It sounds lovely," William commented, flipping the pancakes. "And your mom teaches piano right there at home?" Nia nodded, finishing feeding Malik. "Every day except Sunday. That's our rest day, Mom says. We make pancakes and go to the park after breakfast." While Nia was fascinated by some cartoons on TV, a novelty to her, William picked up his phone and stepped away to make some calls. He began calling nearby hospitals, asking for a Claire with no known last name. 3 hospitals later, he still had no leads. There was no patient named Claire in any of their maternity wards. As he made these calls, William glanced at the children. He couldn't help noticing Nia's resemblance to the Claire he had known. The same eyes, the shape of her face, even subtle mannerisms he recalled so well. The ages matched perfectly too, 6 years, exactly how long it had been since Claire disappeared from his life, without explanation. Could it be possible? The idea had been forming in his mind since he heard the children's names. Could Nia be his daughter? His thoughts were interrupted when Nia approached him, Malik now asleep on the couch, surrounded by cushions to keep him safe. "What's that?" she asked, pointing to the grand piano in the corner of the living room, which he rarely used. "That's a piano," William answered. "Do you know how to play?" "Mom's teaching me," Nia said, walking over to the instrument with reverence. "Can I?" "Of course," he replied. She climbed onto the bench, adjusting herself to the right height like someone who had done it many times. Then, to William's surprise, her small fingers began to move over the keys, playing a simple melody with impressive accuracy for a 6-year-old. "That's beautiful," William exclaimed, genuinely impressed. "Mom says I have a good ear," Nia explained, a shy smile on her face. It was the first time William saw her truly smile. "She plays much better. When I grow up, I want to play just like her. May I play a piece for you?" William offered. When Nia nodded, he sat next to her on the bench and began playing a gentle melody. It was a piece Claire used to love, something they played together during the happiest days of their relationship. Nia's eyes widened. That's the music Mom plays when she's sad. William's hands froze on the keys. Another link, more certainty forming in his chest. Without a doubt, the Claire Nia was describing was the same woman he had loved and never truly forgotten. While Nia continued experimenting with the piano keys, fascinated, William watched her every move. The gestures, the concentration, her posture, all reminded him of Claire. But now he also saw something of himself in her, the shape of her chin, the way she furrowed her brow when concentrating. How hadn't he noticed before? How had he missed the signs? From the first moment in Greenford Park, Malik stirred, whimpering softly, and Nia immediately left the piano to check on him. William observed the scene, a new understanding dawning on him. These children weren't just lost, they were, in some inexplicable way, connected to his past, his present, and possibly his future. "Nia," he called gently, "do you know where your mom is right now?" The girl picked Malik up, rocking him softly. "At the hospital. She got sick after Malik was born." A new sense of purpose rose up in William. He had to find Claire, not just to ensure the children's safety, but to understand everything, to learn the truth. "I'll help you find her," he promised. Nia's small smile, tinged with hope, made his heart tighten. He looked at the 2 children destiny had placed in his path, or perhaps returned to him, and knew that whatever he discovered, his life would never be the same again. Over the next day, William couldn't take his eyes off Nia. With each passing hour, he saw more and more similarities between the girl and Claire. It wasn't just the physical traits, the same almond-shaped eyes, the gentle curve of her chin, the dark hair that fell in natural waves. It was her mannerisms, the little details only someone who had known Claire intimately would recognize. The way Nia tilted her head slightly when focusing on something, how she bit her lower lip when thinking, even the quick motion of blowing hair off her face when her hands were occupied, exactly like Claire used to do. In those moments, "What's wrong?" Nia asked, noticing William watching her while she played with some colorful blocks he found tucked away. "Nothing," he replied with a smile. "You just remind me of someone." "Who?" William hesitated. "Someone very important to me." Nia seemed satisfied with the answer and went back to stacking blocks, building a tower, while Malik slept on the couch, safely cushioned. While preparing lunch, William did mental calculations. Nia was 6 years old. Claire had disappeared from his life about 6 years and 7 months ago. The timing was perfect. If Claire had been pregnant when she left, maybe that explained her sudden departure. But why not tell him? Why vanish without a word? So many questions without answers. The biggest one, could Nia be his daughter? "Nia," William called, interrupting his thoughts. "Malik needs a diaper change." He approached the couch where the baby was squirming in discomfort. "I'll do it. You've already done so much," Nia said, watching as William carefully changed the baby. "I like taking care of Malik. We're a team." "Mom always says." "Your mom sounds really special," William said casually, trying to learn more. "She's the best mom in the world," Nia declared with conviction. Then her face clouded with sadness. "I miss her." William felt a pang in his chest. "We'll find her, I promise." After lunch, William decided to resume calling hospitals. This time he had more information, the first name, approximate age, and the fact that Claire had recently given birth and might be experiencing postnatal complications. On the fourth call, he finally got a lead. Yes, we have a patient named Claire in the intensive care unit, the receptionist informed him. Admitted 2 weeks ago after childbirth complications. William's heart raced. Claire who? What's her last name? I'm sorry, I can't provide that information over the phone. Are you a relative? William hesitated. I'm taking care of her children, her older daughter Nia and the newborn Malik. There was a brief silence on the other end. In that case, I suggest you come in person. Bring the children and any documentation so we can verify the situation. After he hung up, William found Nia watching him closely. Did you find my mom? She asked, hope shining in her eyes. I think so, he said, kneeling down to her level. There's a Claire in a hospital not too far from here. We'll go check first thing tomorrow. Okay, Nia nodded eagerly, a smile lighting up her face. Impulsively, she threw her arms around William's neck, hugging him tightly. It was the first spontaneous display of affection from the girl, and something inside him melted. Thank you, she whispered against his shoulder. That small hug sealed something between them. For the rest of the day, Nia seemed more open, more trusting around William. She allowed him to handle the baby more while she drew pictures or played a few notes on the piano. During dinner, Nia shared more about her life with Claire, how her mom always made her favorite food on tough school days, how they loved to sing together while Claire played piano, and how they would go to the park on Sundays, even in cold weather. Each story was another confirmation that the Claire she was describing was undoubtedly the same woman William had loved, the same kindness, the same passion for music, even the same favorite recipes. Later, while helping Nia get ready for bed, William casually asked, Did your mom ever talk about your dad? Nia, already tucked in beside Malik's makeshift crib, frowned slightly. Sometimes she looks at a photo and gets sad. I think it's him, but I never asked. Why not? The girl shrugged. I didn't want to make her sadder. William felt a lump in his throat. I understand. We'll see your mom tomorrow, okay? We should get some sleep. After Nia dozed off, William sat in the living room with a glass of whiskey, trying to piece together his thoughts. The coincidences were overwhelming. Claire, the children's names just like they had chosen together, Nia's age, the physical resemblances. Early the next morning, he prepared everything. He bought new clothes for the children, wanting them to look presentable for Claire. He packed a bag with everything Malik might need, diapers, bottles, a change of clothes. Nia was so excited she could hardly eat breakfast. She put on the new outfit William had bought, a simple blue dress with a white cardigan, and helped get Malik ready. Do you think she'll be awake? Nia asked as William adjusted the infant car seat he had purchased. I'm not sure, he said honestly. But even if she isn't, I'm sure she'll know you're there. On the drive to the hospital, William's heart pounded. After 6 years, he was about to see Claire again, and possibly discover he had a daughter, and maybe even a son. He glanced in the rearview mirror at Nia, who hummed softly to Malik. Whatever happened today, these children had already changed his life completely. The hospital loomed ahead, a tall white building. William parked and helped Nia out, carrying Malik against his chest. Ready? He asked, extending his free hand to Nia. The girl nodded, gripping his hand firmly. Together, they walked toward the hospital entrance, each step taking them closer to the truth that could change everything. The hospital was busy that morning. William held Malik securely while Nia clung to his free hand as they crossed the main lobby. William and Nia approached the reception desk where a middle-aged woman greeted them with a polite smile. Good morning, how can I help you? We're looking for Claire, William said, leaning slightly over the counter. I called yesterday. She was admitted about 2 weeks ago with post-birth complications. The receptionist typed something into her computer. Claire? Yes, we have a patient by that name in the ICU. Are you a relative? Before William could answer, Nia spoke up. We're her kids. I'm Nia and this is Malik. The receptionist's gaze softened when she looked at the children. I see. And you, sir? William hesitated a moment. I'm a close friend. I've been caring for the children since she was hospitalized. After checking some documents and hearing William's explanation of the unusual situation, they were directed to the 6th floor where the intensive care unit was located. In the elevator, Nia grew uncharacteristically silent, squeezing William's hand tighter with each floor they ascended. You okay? He asked gently. What if she doesn't wake up? Nia's voice was barely above a whisper. William crouched down, still holding Malik, to look her in the eye. Your mom is strong, Nia. We'll be there for her every day until she wakes up. In the ICU hallway, they were met by a nurse who took them to a waiting area. The doctor will come talk to you first, she explained. Soon, a man in a white coat with a serious expression entered the room. "I'm Dr. Martinez, in charge of Ms. Claire's case." "How is she?" William asked immediately. The doctor glanced briefly at the children before replying. "She's stable but still in a medically induced coma. She had severe hemorrhaging after giving birth, which led to complications. We managed to stabilize her, but her body needs time to recover." "Is she going to wake up?" Nia's small voice made them all look at her. Dr. Martinez crouched to her level. "Your mom is fighting very hard, little one. The signs are positive, but we need to be patient." "Can we see her?" William asked. "Yes, but only for 15 minutes, and I should warn you, she's hooked up to a lot of equipment. It might be scary, especially for the kids." William looked at Nia. "Would you like me to go in first, or do you want to go now?" Nia shook her head firmly. "I want to see her now." They followed the doctor through double doors into an area quiet except for the constant beep of monitors. Claire's room was the third on the right. When the door opened, William felt his heart stop for a moment. There she was, Claire. After 6 long years, her face was paler than he remembered, stark against a white pillow, her dark hair spread around her head. Tubes and wires connected her frail body to various machines that monitored her vital signs. Even in this state, it was unmistakably Claire, the Claire he had loved, the Claire who had vanished from his life without explanation, the Claire who he now suspected was the mother of his daughter. "Mom!" Nia's muffled cry jolted him back to reality. The girl ran to the bedside, stopping abruptly, as though afraid touching her mother might hurt her. Her small shoulders began to quake with silent sobs. "It's okay," William said softly, moving closer with Malik. "You can hold her hand. She'll know you're here." Hesitantly, Nia reached out and touched Claire's fingers. "Mom, it's me," she whispered. "I brought Malik to see you. We're fine. William's taking care of us." William felt a knot in his throat. He adjusted Malik so the baby was closer to his mother. The newborn's eyes were open, looking around without really understanding. "Hi, Claire," he said at last, his voice almost breaking. "It's been a long time." It was surreal to stand there next to a woman who had once been his entire world, accompanied by 2 children who likely were his. Fate indeed had a strange sense of humor. Nia kept talking to her mom, telling her about William's apartment, the piano he owned, and how well he'd cared for them. She spoke as if Claire could hear every word. Maybe she could. After a few minutes, Dr. Martinez returned. "We need to let her rest now. We can talk more in my office." Nia kissed her mother's hand before letting go. "We'll come back tomorrow, I promise." William held her tight, letting her release all the fear she'd been holding back since she saw her mother in the hospital. "I'm scared," she confessed between sobs. "So scared." "I know," William whispered, stroking her hair. "I am too, but we're in this together, okay? You, me, and Malik. We'll look after each other." Nia nodded against his chest, still crying, but calmer now. In that moment, something changed between them. They were no longer just a stranger and a child thrown together by chance. It was something deeper, more permanent. Later, after bathing the children and putting Malik to sleep, William noticed Nia was still restless. She tossed and turned in bed, unable to relax. "Having trouble sleeping?" he asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Every time I close my eyes, I see Mom in that bed," Nia confessed. William thought for a moment. "When I was young and couldn't sleep, my mom would tell me stories. Want to hear one?" Nia's eyes lit up a bit. "What kind of story?" "How about the story of a very brave girl who had a special power? She could make anyone smile just by playing the piano." "Like Mom?" Nia observed. "Yes, exactly like your mom." William improvised a tale about a young pianist traveling the world, healing sad hearts with her music. With each adventure, he saw Nia relax a little more, her eyelids growing heavier. "And one day," he continued, "she met a man with the saddest heart of all. He had lost something very important and thought he'd never be happy again. But when he heard the girl's music, something incredible happened." "What?" Nia asked, already half asleep. His heart began to mend, and he realized maybe he could find happiness again. Nia gave a drowsy smile. "I like that story." "Me too," William replied softly, realizing he had just recounted, without meaning to, his own story with Claire. He was about to get up when Nia's small hand grasped his. "Stay here until I fall asleep." "Of course," he agreed, settling himself more comfortably. It didn't take long for Nia to drift off, but William remained there watching her. He looked over at the makeshift crib, where Malik slept peacefully. These two little beings had come crashing into his life so abruptly, and now he couldn't imagine his days without them. In the middle of the night, he was awakened by screams. He raced to the children's room and found Nia sitting up in bed, sobbing uncontrollably. It was just a nightmare, he assured her, sitting beside her and pulling her into a hug. "You're safe now." She was leaving, Nia sobbed. "Mom was leaving, and I couldn't reach her." "It was just a bad dream," William repeated, rocking her gently. "Your mom is in the hospital being looked after. She's not going anywhere." Surprisingly, Malik hadn't woken up from a noise. William brought Nia a glass of water, which she sipped in small gulps. "Would you like to sleep in my room tonight?" he offered. "We can bring Malik's crib too." Nia nodded, still trembling slightly. Together, they moved Malik's makeshift crib to William's bedroom. She settled herself on his king-size bed, looking even smaller amidst the large pillows. "Better?" he asked, lying down beside her but keeping a respectful distance. "Yes," Nia murmured, calmer now. After a moment she added, "William?" "Yes. Thank you for taking care of us." William felt a lump in his throat. "There is no need to thank me, Nia." She was silent for a few moments, then asked, "You knew my mom before, didn't you? Is that why you got sad when I said her name?" Nia's perceptiveness continued to amaze him. "Yes," he finally admitted. "I knew your mom a long time ago." "Were you friends?" William hesitated. "We were very close." That seemed to satisfy Nia, who closed her eyes again. Soon her breathing was steady, indicating she had fallen asleep. William stayed awake, pondering how his life had changed in just a few days. And with Claire again, he had likely discovered that he was a father, and maybe even a father to 2 children. It was a lot to process. In the morning, he was awakened by soft whimpers. Malik was hungry. Before William could get up, Nia was already on her feet, going to the makeshift crib. "I'll pick him up," she said, lifting her brother carefully. "Could you make his bottle?" William smiled, impressed by the little girl's maturity. "Sure, let's work as a team." In the kitchen, as he prepared the bottle, he watched Nia hold the baby gently, humming the same melody Claire used to play. "Want to feed him?" Nia offered, extending the baby toward William. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot. Nia was trusting him with what she held most dear, her baby brother. "I'd love to," he said, sitting down and arranging Malik in his arms as he fed the baby, with Nia watching closely. William felt a growing certainty within him. Whatever happened with Claire, whatever the future held, he would do everything in his power to protect these children because, in a way he couldn't fully explain, they already felt like his family. In the following days, William established a new rhythm in his life. The once quiet and orderly penthouse now showed clear signs of the children's presence. Toys scattered across the living room, baby bottles drying by the sink, small clothes neatly folded on the sofa. It was as if the place had finally come alive. Morning started early, with Malik waking for his first bottle of the day. William had become surprisingly good at preparing the milk at just the right temperature while still half asleep. Nia usually woke up soon after, rubbing her tired eyes, but always willing to help with her little brother. "Can I hold him while you have your coffee?" she would offer, already stretching her arms out for the baby. Breakfast became a special time. William made a point of cooking something tasty: pancakes, scrambled eggs, toast with jam. Nia sat at the kitchen table, chatting to Malik about the plans for the day, as if the baby understood every word. After breakfast, they got ready for the daily hospital visit. William had explained the situation at his workplace and was allowed to work remotely most days. His mornings now belonged to the children and to Claire. At the hospital, the routine was always the same. Nia hurried to her mother's side, sharing every bit of news from the previous day. Malik was placed near Claire, sometimes even gently positioned next to her on the bed under close supervision. William watched, his heart heavy with a mixture of hope and concern. "The doctors say she's responding well," he commented one morning as Nia showed Claire a drawing she'd made. "They're gradually lowering the medication." Nia nodded, not taking her eyes off her mother's pale face. "She'll wake up soon, I'm sure." The conviction in her voice gave William strength. It was as though Nia sensed something the adults couldn't. Afternoons were for work. After lunch, William set up an improvised office in the living room, complete with a computer and piles of documents, while Nia played quietly nearby, always keeping an eye on Malik. At first, William tried to manage it all by himself. He took calls with Malik in his arms, joined video conferences while Nia colored quietly at his side, and used the baby's nap time to catch up on reports. It was exhausting but also strangely fulfilling. "Could you help me with something important?" he asked Nia one particularly busy afternoon, handing her a stack of colored papers. "We need to sort these documents by color. It's a special job." It wasn't truly important, of course, but Nia took the task seriously, carefully sorting the papers into neat piles. "Done," she announced proudly after 20 minutes of intense focus. "Excellent work," William praised, examining the perfectly arranged papers. "You're a fantastic assistant." Nia beamed. It was clear she enjoyed feeling useful, part of something important. After a few days of this routine, William realized he needed help. No matter how much he wanted to do everything alone, the reality was he couldn't be a full-time executive and a full-time caretaker for 2 children at once. "I'm thinking of hiring someone to help out when I'm working," he mentioned at dinner. "What do you think, Nia?" The girl paused with her fork in midair. "What kind of person?" "A nanny. Someone kind who loves kids, and can stay here in the afternoons when I have important meetings or need to go to the office." Nia considered the idea, furrowing her brow in concentration. "Will she be nice to Malik?" "Absolutely. I wouldn't hire anyone who wasn't." After some interviews, William found Ruth, a middle-aged woman with plenty of experience caring for children. Her calm, affectionate manner won Nia over almost immediately, especially when Ruth mentioned she could play just a little piano. "Can you play my mom's songs?" Nia asked, excited. "You'll have to teach me," Ruth replied with a smile. With Ruth's help in the afternoons, William found a more balanced routine. Mornings remained devoted to the children and the hospital visits. In the afternoons, he worked, knowing Nia and Malik were in good hands. Evenings were their family time, dinner together, playing, or reading stories. Precious moments arose during those evenings. William discovered the joy of building pillow forts in the living room, coloring fantastic drawings under Nia's artistic guidance, and playing simple tunes on the piano while she hummed along. "Louder on this part," she instructed, standing on her tiptoes to reach the higher keys. "Mom always plays that part louder." William obliged, watching in fascination as music transformed Nia. In those moments, she seemed lighter, more like a child, forgetting for just a little while her worries about her hospitalized mother. Malik, too, had his place in those fun moments. Surprisingly, for such a little baby, he seemed incredibly attentive to music. His eyes followed Nia and William as they played, and sometimes he'd wriggle, as though wanting to join in. "He's going to be a musician, too," Nia declared confidently, "just like me and Mom." Over the following weeks, William's penthouse transformed. He bought a proper bed for Nia, replacing the guest room setup with a cheerful kid's bedroom. A real crib took the place of the improvised drawer for Malik. Toys, books, and the children's belongings blended seamlessly into the space, making it feel cozier. One night, after tucking Malik in and reading Nia a bedtime story, William paused at the doorway, watching the 2 children sleep. It was hard to believe that just a few weeks ago they had been total strangers. He returned to the living room and looked around at the evidence of this new life he was building. His work piled on the desk, toys tidied in a basket, and recent photos of the kids already decorating the shelves. It was chaotic, challenging, and completely different from the neat and predictable life he once had, and he wouldn't trade it for anything. While pouring himself a coffee, he thought of Claire lying in that hospital bed. What would she think of all this? Would she approve of how he was caring for her kids? Was there a chance for them after all these years and unanswered questions? He didn't know, but for now, focusing on daily life, building this unexpected new routine, and adapting to this role of father, yes, he already thought of himself as their father, was enough. The rest, the future, the explanations yet to come, those could wait. The weeks following the children's arrival saw a silent but profound transformation in William's relationship with them. What began as a sudden and extraordinary situation, finding 2 kids alone in a park on a cold night, was becoming something deeper and more permanent. On a Saturday morning, William was awakened by the sound of small, hurried footsteps. He opened his eyes to find Nia by his bed, already dressed and combed, looking expectant. "You promised," she said before he could even yawn. William smiled, remembering the promise he'd made the night before. "The park, right? Let me get some coffee first." They still visited Claire every day, but William realized the importance of giving Nia moments of normalcy and joy. Claire was stable. The doctors were gradually reducing her sedation, hopeful she would soon regain consciousness. That morning, after checking on Claire at the hospital, they headed to the large city park. William took something out of the trunk that he'd secretly purchased, a small pink bicycle. Nia's eyes went wide. "Is this for me?" "All yours," he confirmed. "I think it's time for you to learn how to ride without training wheels." Nia touched the handlebars nervously. "What if I fall?" "Then you get up and try again," William said, crouching to meet her gaze, "and I'll be right here to help. Always." The next few hours were dedicated to that mission. William ran alongside the bike, holding on for balance while Nia pedaled with growing determination. Malik watched from his stroller, occasionally making curious noises. There were falls, scraped knees, and moments of frustration, but there was also perseverance. "One more time," Nia said after each tumble, lifting her chin with resolve. Finally, early in the afternoon, it happened. William let go of the handlebars and continued running beside her, not touching the bike. Nia pedaled on her own, maintaining perfect balance. "I'm doing it," she shouted, her face lit with pure joy. "Look, I'm riding on my own." "You're doing great," William exclaimed, still running alongside, ready to catch her if needed, but giving her the space to own that victory herself. When they finally took a break, sitting on a bench in shade, Nia was beaming. "This is the best day of my life," she declared, biting into the sandwich William had brought. "Even better than the day we won the pancake contest," he teased, referring to a homemade cooking competition they'd held the previous weekend. Nia thought it over seriously. Almost as good as that. Malik, who was on William's lap, began to squirm. When William glanced down, something amazing happened. The baby looked directly into his face and broke into his very first genuine broad smile. "Nia, look," William called excitedly. Malik smiling. Nia hurried over. He's never smiled like that before. It was a perfect moment, the three of them in the sunny park, sharing that small but meaningful milestone. William felt something warm expand in his chest, love plain and simple. A love that grew by the day, with every shared moment. In the days that followed, the bonds between them grew even stronger. Evenings took on a special rhythm. After dinner, William read stories to Nia, using different voices for each character and making her laugh with his over-the-top performances. Malik lay between them, his eyes increasingly alert, following their movements and sounds. One night, while William told a story about a princess who saved an entire kingdom using only her wits, Nia interrupted with a question. "What was my mom like when you met her?" The question caught William off guard. He set the book aside, thinking carefully. "Your mom was extraordinary," he said at last. "Smart, talented, full of life. When she played the piano, it felt like the whole world paused to listen." "You liked her a lot, huh?" Nia asked, watching him closely. "Yes," William admitted, "very much." "And now?" The simplicity of the question masked its depth. William looked at Nia, then at Malik, who had dozed off between them. "I still do," he answered honestly. "Maybe more than before." Nia nodded, satisfied with the response. Her eyes were starting to droop with sleep. "Good night, William," she murmured, snuggling closer to her brother. "Good night, Nia," he whispered, pulling the blanket over them. After she fell asleep, William stayed seated on the edge of the bed, watching both children. It was remarkable how, in such a short time, these two little lives had become the center of his world, an enormous responsibility. An indescribable privilege. The connection he felt went beyond anything he'd experienced before. He didn't need formal acknowledgement to know what he already felt in his heart. These children were a part of him now. Caring for Malik became a special bonding experience for all three of them. Bath time turned into a mini celebration. Nia was in charge of the rubber duckies and creating elaborate stories, while William handled the practical side, supporting Malik's head, gently washing him, rinsing carefully. Malik contributed with increasingly frequent smiles and coos of delight. "We make quite a team," William commented one evening, after they finally soothed Malik through a difficult bout of colic. "The best team," Nia agreed, exhausted but pleased. There was a special glow in her eyes when she looked at William now. Trust, security, and something that felt very close to love. One afternoon, while William was working on his laptop, Nia quietly approached and placed something beside him, a drawing. In it, 3 stick figures smiled under a bright yellow sun. Above them was the caption in colorful, childish handwriting, "Our family." William felt a tightness in his throat. He picked up the picture carefully, as if it were a priceless treasure. "It's beautiful, Nia. I'll keep it forever." She smiled, satisfied, and went back to her play. But that moment, that simple drawing, meant everything. It confirmed that in her eyes, they truly were a family now. During a hospital visit, while Malik slept in his stroller and Nia excitedly told Claire about learning to ride a bike, William watched the scene with a full heart. These children had completely captured his affection. Somehow, amidst extraordinary circumstances, he had formed a deep paternal bond with them. And when Claire woke up, because he refused to consider any other scenario, they would face whatever came next together. They would talk about the past, about why she left, about the years they lost. There might be explanations, even forgiveness, but one thing was certain: the bonds he had forged with Nia and Malik were permanent. No matter what happened, he would stand by them for the rest of his life. "William," Nia called out, breaking into his thoughts. I think she moved her hand. Mom moved her hand. William quickly went to the bedside. Sure enough, Claire's fingers had twitched slightly, a small sign perhaps that she was coming back to them. Hope, already strong, flared brighter in that moment. Claire was fighting her way back, and they would be there waiting, a family on the verge of becoming whole. Claire's finger movements were not an isolated event. In the following visits, more signs of improvement appeared. First, subtle changes in her brain waves as recorded by the monitors, then slight reactions to voices, especially Nia's soft talking near her ear. Her pupils are responding better to light, Dr. Martinez explained during a morning visit, and her scans show more consistent brain activity. These are all promising signs. William watched the doctor intently, searching for any hint that he was merely being optimistic, but this time the optimism seemed genuine. How long until she wakes up? William asked, carefully choosing his words for Nia's sake, who was playing with Malik in the corner, but surely listening to everything. It's impossible to say exactly, the doctor replied, but we're decreasing the sedation little by little. If she continues to respond well, perhaps in a few days we can try a controlled awakening. That news filled them all with renewed spirit. Nia, who until then wore a perpetual worried expression during the visits, started smiling more and told brighter stories to her still unconscious mom. "Mom, you're going to love William's apartment," she'd say, holding Claire's hand. "He has a huge piano in the living room, bigger than ours, and Malik has a whole room just for him." William made a decision. He would spend his nights at the hospital. Claire's progress was delicate and crucial, and he wanted to be there for every change. He arranged with Ruth to stay with the children at night and reorganized his work schedule to be at the hospital as much as possible. "You don't have to do this," the head nurse commented when she saw William settling into the uncomfortable chair beside Claire's bed for the third consecutive night. "We can call you if there's any change." "I'd rather be here," he replied simply. During those nights, William spoke to Claire for hours. He told her about the kids, how Nia had learned to ride her bike, how Malik had given his first real smile. He talked about the past too, about the questions that were still unanswered, but always with a tone of understanding rather than accusation. "Whatever made you leave, Claire?" he whispered one night, holding her hand. "It's okay. I just want you to come back to us, to your children. And if there's still a place for me in your life, then for me too." Inspired by her mom's improvement, Nia began a special project. Every afternoon, she made colorful drawings to decorate Claire's hospital room. "I want Mom to see pretty things when she wakes up," she explained while carefully taping her creations on the austere white walls. The drawings transformed the entire environment. Pictures of the family, Nia, Malik, Claire, and noticeably William, bright landscapes, flowers, rainbows, and of course, lots of pianos. The hospital staff, touched by the girls' dedication, not only allowed the improvised decor, but encouraged it. One nurse brought extra supplies for Nia, and even Dr. Martinez remarked that Claire's room had become the happiest place in the ward. Preparations for Claire's anticipated awakening involved more than just decorating. William brought some of her clothes from the small apartment Nia helped him locate. He also brought a photo he found there, an image of Claire, pregnant, smiling radiantly at the camera with a very young Nia by her side. "William," Nia said one afternoon as she taped up her latest drawing, "do you think Mom will remember everything when she wakes up?" The question caught him off guard. "I'm not sure, honey. Sometimes people who've been unconscious can be a bit confused at first, but I'm sure she'll remember you and Malik. And you will remember her too." William looked at Claire, so serene in her deep sleep. "I hope so, but the most important thing is that she's coming back, right?" Nia nodded, returning to her artwork. At that moment, a more pronounced movement made both of them glance at the bed. Claire had turned her head slightly toward their voices, as though trying to find the source of that familiar sound. It was the clearest sign so far. Claire was on her way back to them. It was an ordinary Tuesday. William had left Nia building a block tower and Malik in Ruth's capable care so he could spend the morning at the hospital. By now, the routine was so familiar he barely thought about it. Breakfast bottle, toys, car keys, everything flowed in an efficient, almost automatic sequence. At the hospital, he settled in the chair beside Claire's bed, as he always did. He opened his laptop to respond to a few work emails while chatting casually with her, telling her about Nia's latest drawing and how Malik tried to roll over the night before. "He's determined like you," William remarked with a smile, looking at Claire's still form. "He won't give up until he gets what he wants." Then he noticed something, a different kind of movement, not just a twitch of fingers or a slight turn of the head, but Claire's eyes fluttering beneath her lids as if she was trying to open them. William snapped the laptop shut. "Claire," he called, leaning in. "Claire, can you hear me?" A faint furrow appeared between her brows, the heart monitor registering a slight increase in her pulse. William pressed the call button for the nurse and kept talking, his voice urgent yet filled with hope. "Claire, it's me, William. I'm here. You're safe. The kids are fine." Claire's eyelids flutter more intensely, and then, at last, they opened. For a moment, her eyes seemed unfocused, confused, the light probably too harsh after weeks in darkness. She blinked several times, trying to adjust. "William." Her voice was barely audible, hoarse from lack of use. "Yes," he answered, tears pricking his eyes. "It's me." Just then, the nurse walked in, saw what was happening, and immediately summoned the doctor. Within moments, the room filled with medical staff checking vitals, asking quick questions, and performing neurological tests. William was gently guided to the corner while the medical team worked. He watched, almost unable to believe it, as Claire responded, nodding or whispering a few words. She was disoriented but conscious. She was back. After what felt like an eternity, Dr. Martinez approached William. "She's stable. Confusion is normal after a prolonged coma, but her neurological responses look very good. We'll keep monitoring closely, but this is," he smiled, genuinely pleased. "This is extraordinary." When the staff finally cleared out, leaving just one nurse to adjust Claire's equipment, William returned to her bedside. Her eyes were more focused now, observing him with a mix of confusion and recognition. "William," she repeated, her voice still weak, but clearer. "How? Why are you here?" He took her hand gently. "It's a long story. The important thing is you're all right." "The kids?" Claire managed, trying to sit up, panic flashing in her eyes. "Nia? Malik?" "They're fine," he assured her. "They're with me. I've been taking care of them since you were admitted." Claire's expression was indescribable, a mixture of relief, confusion, and shock. "You know about them. I found Nia and Malik in the park a few weeks ago. Nia was trying to look after him alone." He paused, recalling that cold night. "She's an incredible little girl." Tears welled in Claire's eyes. "They're really all right. They're great. Nia is learning to play the piano at my place, and Malik's getting bigger every day." William smiled, squeezing her hand gently. "I'll bring them to you right now. Nia's been talking about you every single day." "Thank you," Claire whispered, her eyes heavy with fatigue. "Once again for taking care of them." William drove back to the apartment, his heart pounding. How to explain to a 6-year-old that her mother, after weeks of unconsciousness, was finally awake? He decided to be direct and simple. When he walked in, Nia was drawing at the table while Ruth folded laundry. She looked up, surprised to see him home earlier than usual. "I have a surprise for you," he said, kneeling to her level. "What?" she asked, dropping her pencil crayon. "Your mom woke up." Nia's eyes went wide, bright with shock and joy. "Mom woke up? Really? Did she talk? Did she ask about me?" "Yes, really. Yes, she talked, though she's still a bit weak. And yes, the first thing she asked about was you and Malik." Nia threw her arms around William's neck, hugging him as hard as her small body could manage. "Can we go see her now?" "Right now?" "Of course we can. Let's get ready and head straight there." Ruth smiled, equally moved by the news. "That's wonderful. I'll help Nia get dressed while you pack Malik's things." The entire ride to the hospital, Nia couldn't stop talking. She planned everything she would tell her mother. How William had found them, how big his apartment was, how Malik had grown, how she had learned to ride a bike, and how she would tell her about the piano, and how Ruth makes the best hot chocolate in the world, and how you've been taking really good care of us. She rambled breathlessly. William smiled, watching her excitement in the rearview mirror. At least part of his own nervousness about the reunion was eased by her pure joy. When they arrived at the hospital, Nia could barely wait for William to park the car. He had to remind her several times not to run in the corridors. Even with Malik in his arms, he struggled to keep pace with her energy. At the door to Claire's room, Nia stopped abruptly, suddenly hesitant. William knelt beside her. "It's okay," he assured her. "Your mom's waiting for you." Nia nodded. William took a deep breath, then opened the door softly. Claire was sitting up in bed, more alert after a few hours of rest. When she spotted her daughter, her face lit up with the brightest smile William had ever seen. "Mom!" Nia exclaimed, all hesitation gone. She ran to the bed and threw herself into Claire's arms, who hugged her with all the strength she could muster. "My girl," Claire sobbed, kissing Nia's head over and over. "My brave, wonderful girl." William lingered by the door, holding Malik, giving them a moment alone. The scene before him was so powerful, so intimate, that he felt almost like an intruder. "I thought you'd never wake up," Nia said between sobs. "William said you would, but it took so long. I'm sorry I worried you." Claire replied, wiping her daughter's tears with her thumbs, "But I'm here now. Forever." "Forever," Claire promised. When their embrace finally ended, Claire lifted her eyes to William, still standing in the doorway with Malik. "Come here," she said, extending her arms. William stepped forward and gently placed Malik into Claire's waiting arms. Her eyes filled with fresh tears as she beheld her son, who had visibly grown during the weeks she'd been unconscious. "My baby," she whispered, touching Malik's face reverently. "He's so big now. He's grown a lot," Nia said proudly. "And he smiles all the time now, especially at William." Claire glanced over at William, a silent question in her gaze. "He's a very happy baby," William simply said, "and Nia has been the best big sister anyone could hope for." "William found us in the park," Nia began eagerly, wanting to tell her mother everything. "It was so cold, and Malik wouldn't stop crying. William took us to his house. It's a huge apartment, Mom, on the top floor of a really tall building." Claire listened intently as Nia described the weeks they'd spent, how a doctor came to check on Malik, about the nanny, the new bicycle, the daily hospital visits, and William said he knew you. Nia concluded, looking between the two adults curiously, "He gets sad sometimes when he looks at you sleeping. I think he missed you a lot." A weighted silence fell over the room. Claire didn't look away from William, and he held her gaze. "Yes," Claire finally said softly. "William and I met a long time ago." "Were you friends?" Nia asked. "We were very close," Claire replied, still looking at William. That seemed to quell Nia's curiosity for now. She continued talking about her new life, while Claire alternated her attention between her talkative daughter and the now sleeping baby in her arms. The afternoon passed quickly. Nurses came and went, checking Claire's vitals. Dr. Martinez appeared for another exam, visibly pleased with her progress. When Nia finally paused in her seemingly endless stories to use the restroom, Claire looked directly at William. "William, we need to talk," she said quietly so Nia wouldn't overhear when she came back. "About everything. About the past. About Nia." "I know," he replied, equally serious. "Not now," Claire continued, settling Malik more comfortably in her arms. "Not in front of the kids. But there's a lot we need to discuss whenever you're ready." "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For taking care of them when I couldn't." "Don't thank me, Claire. There." He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "They're special to me. Very special." Nia's return ended the conversation to the relief of both. There was so much left unsaid, so many questions, explanations, and maybe even accusations yet to come. But not today. Today was for celebration, the pure joy of reunion. When it was time to leave, Claire needed rest, and Malik was getting fussy, needing his nighttime routine. Nia was reluctant to let go. "We can come back first thing tomorrow," William promised, "and the day after, and the day after that. And soon Mom will be able to come home," Nia added to herself, almost in a whisper. "To our home." William and Claire exchanged a glance. So much complexity lay in that simple statement, so many decisions awaiting them. "One day at a time," William said gently. "First, your mom needs to get completely better." Nia nodded reluctantly and got ready to leave, but not before hugging her mother again, so tight that Claire had to remind her to be careful with Malik in her arms. "I love you to the moon and back," Claire whispered in her daughter's ear, repeating a phrase that was clearly special to them. "I love you to the farthest stars," Nia replied, completing the familiar ritual. As he left the room with the children, William looked back one last time. Claire had tears in her eyes, but also a smile, the same smile William hadn't seen in over 6 years, yet remembered vividly. There was so much to resolve, so much that needed explaining. Why had she left? Why hadn't she returned? Why had she never told him about Nia? And what would happen now? But those were questions for tomorrow. Today, as he took Nia and Malik back to the home they had unexpectedly built together, William allowed himself to feel only gratitude and hope. Claire was back. They would figure out the rest together. The days following Claire's awakening were filled with steady progress. Within a week, she was sitting up unaided and holding longer conversations without tiring. Physical therapy had started with daily sessions to regain muscle strength lost during her weeks of immobility. "I'm amazed at your recovery," Dr. Martinez said during his morning evaluation. "Your tests look great and your physical progress is above expectations." "I have plenty of reasons to recover quickly," Claire replied, glancing over to the corner of the room where Nia was playing with a small doll William had brought while Malik slept in a portable crib. The visits were now longer and more frequent. William rearranged his entire work schedule to spend more time at the hospital. Most mornings, he brought the children to be with Claire while he worked on his laptop in the corner. After lunch, he'd take Nia home so she could rest, then return alone in the evenings. It was during one of those evenings, after the kids were home with Marta, that Claire finally felt ready to have the conversation both she and William knew had to happen. "I think it's time," she said quietly after the night nurse left, having done her routine checks. William nodded, closing his laptop and pulling his chair closer to the bed. "I'm listening." Claire took a deep breath, looking down at her own hands, which were marked by the IVs that had kept her nourished during the coma. Where to begin when the story spanned so many years? "Do you remember how we first met?" she finally asked, lifting her gaze to his. William smiled faintly. "Your recital at the conservatory. You played Chopin like you were born to do it, and I was in the front row. I couldn't take my eyes off you the entire performance." She smiled briefly at the memory, but her face grew serious again. "Those were the best years of my life, William. You need to know that what we had, what we built, I never stopped thinking about it for a single day." "Then why did you leave?" The question that had tormented him for 6 years finally came out, direct and unfiltered. Claire closed her eyes as though mustering courage. "My sister called me that morning. My father was dying of liver cirrhosis, the result of years of alcoholism. She said he was asking to see me. You never mentioned your father or that you had a sister." "I lied, William. I lied about my entire family." She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze head on. "My father was a violent man, abusive. He used to beat my mother until she couldn't take it anymore, and she left when I was 10, abandoning my sister and me. We grew up in constant fear." William listened in silence, his expression grave. This was a side of Claire he had never known. "When I went to college, I cut all ties. I started a new life, invented a new backstory. It was easier to pretend I was an orphan than explain all of this." She paused, breathing deeply. "Then I met you, and by then I'd been living that lie for years. You came from such a perfect family, William. How could you possibly understand?" "You never gave me a chance to try," he replied, his voice filled not with accusation but with sadness. "I know it was cowardly. Then when my sister called, I broke. Maybe I thought it was my chance to finally confront my past, to make peace with it somehow." Claire wiped away a tear. "I told myself it would only be a few days, that I'd come back and explain everything to you, but I never came back." "No," Claire looked out the window. "When I got there, I found out I was pregnant, and that same day my father, on his deathbed, told me my sister was in danger from her ex-boyfriend, a man as violent as he had been. He begged me to help her, not to let her repeat our mother's mistakes." William leaned forward, absorbing every detail. The 6-year puzzle was finally taking shape. "My sister tried to kill herself twice after our father died. She was completely broken, vulnerable. She needed me." Claire turned back to William. "And I was pregnant, William. Pregnant with your child." Despite having suspected this for weeks, hearing the confirmation made William's heart clench. "Nia is my daughter." It wasn't a question, but Claire answered anyway. "Yes, Nia is your daughter." A heavy silence filled the room, broken only by the steady beep of the monitors and the distant footsteps in the hallway. "Why didn't you contact me after she was born?" William finally asked, his voice tense but controlled. "At first, I was consumed with taking care of my sister and dealing with the pregnancy. Then after Nia was born." Claire swallowed hard. The more time passed, the harder it got to explain. How could I show up with a baby after months of silence? What right did I have to barge back into your life after abandoning you with no explanation? Pride and shame kept me away. William stood, unable to remain seated. He walked to the window, looking out at the city lights, trying to process everything. 6 years of questions answered in one conversation. You have every right to hate me, Claire said. I know what I did is unforgivable. I don't hate you, Claire, he turned to face her. But I lost 6 years of my daughter's life. Years I'll never get back. I know, tears streamed down Claire's face. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for that, if you'll let me. William returned to the chair, running his hands over his face, as if trying to clear his thoughts. What about Malik? Claire looked down. After nearly 3 years alone with Nia, I met someone I thought I could build a new life with, give Nia a complete family. But when I got pregnant with Malik, he left. He said he never wanted children, that it wasn't part of his plan. I'm sorry, William said sincerely. Don't be, Claire replied, surprising him. Malik is the best thing that could have happened, and he made me realize that no matter how I tried, I couldn't forget you. I couldn't replace what we had. They both fell silent, each absorbing the revelations and their implications. So what do we do now? William finally asked. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, William. I know what I did was unforgivable. Claire looked at him intently. But for Nia's sake, maybe we can find a way forward. She deserves to have her father in her life. It's not just for Nia, William admitted. These weeks caring for the kids, visiting you, it made me realize I never really got over what we had. A flicker of hope lit Claire's face. Do you think we could? Maybe with time. One step at a time, he said, smiling slightly. First, we need to tell Nia. She has the right to know who her father is. Claire nodded. Tomorrow when she comes. Tomorrow, William agreed. The next morning, after the doctor's rounds, William arrived with the children as usual. Nia ran to hug her mother while Malik, more active now, wiggled happily in William's arms. Claire and William exchanged a meaningful look, both nervous about what they were about to do. Nia, honey, Claire called after a few minutes. There's something very important we need to talk about. The girl glanced curiously from Claire to William. What is it, Mom? Claire reached out, indicating Nia should sit beside her on the bed. William drew closer, still holding Malik. Remember when you asked if William and I were friends? Claire began. Nia nodded. Well, we were much more than friends. We loved each other very much. Claire paused, choosing her words carefully. And Nia, William is your dad. The girl's eyes went wide. She looked at William as if seeing him in a new light. My dad? Really? Yes, sweetheart, Claire confirmed. Your real father. For a moment, Nia was motionless, processing the information. Then, without warning, she jumped off the bed and ran to William, hugging his legs tightly. I knew it. I knew you were special. William handed Malik to Claire and knelt to return Nia's embrace properly. Tears he couldn't control slid down his face. I love you so much, Nia. You're my real dad, she repeated, as if trying out the words. Her smile was so radiant it lit up the entire room. Can I call you Dad now? I'd love that, William answered, his voice trembling with emotion. Claire watched silently, crying as she held Malik against her chest. It was a scene she never imagined, seeing her daughter in her father's arms, finally uniting what should never have been separated. Does that mean we'll all live together forever? Nia asked, looking from William to Claire, hope shining in her eyes. The adults exchanged a glance. It was a question they themselves didn't have an answer for yet. One step at a time, honey, Claire said gently. First, I need to get better and leave the hospital. Then we can all talk about the future. Okay. Nia seemed satisfied with that answer. She returned to the bed and nestled beside her mom, with Malik between them. William pulled a chair closer, and for the first time since these children came into his life, he truly felt they were forming a family. For the rest of the morning, Nia peppered William with questions, wanting to know everything about him, how he and Claire met, and about his extended family. So that means I have grandparents, she asked, eyes sparkling. And uncles and cousins. Yes to all of that, William replied with a smile. My parents are going to adore you, and my sister has 2 kids who are a bit older than you. Wow. Nia breathed, marveling at the idea of a bigger family. That afternoon, when Nia finally dozed off in an armchair from all the excitement, William and Claire spoke softly. She seems happy, Claire observed, watching her daughter sleep. Kids are incredibly adaptable, William said. but we need to be careful and make decisions with their long-term well-being in mind. Claire nodded. You've been a wonderful father to her, even without knowing, and to Malik too. She hesitated. I know he's not your biological son, William, but he's Nia's brother. William interrupted kindly. That already makes him part of my life, no matter what else. Claire smiled gratefully, tears in her eyes. I don't deserve that kindness after what I've done. It's not about deserving. William repeated the words he'd said before. It's about moving forward, building something new from what we have. That evening, after bringing the children home, William returned to the hospital. He found Claire sitting up in bed, looking through a photo album he'd brought earlier, pictures of Nia and Malik during the weeks they'd stayed with him. She looked so happy, Claire commented, pointing at a photo of Nia on her new bicycle, beaming with joy. You two bonded right away, didn't you? From the very first moment, William confirmed, sitting next to her. It was like something inside me just knew somehow. Blood calls, Claire said with a small smile. She flipped to another page and found a photo of William asleep on the couch, with Malik resting on his chest. And it looks like this little guy stole your heart too. They're both amazing, William said. Truly, Claire paused, and despite everything, I'm grateful I found them, even under such improbable circumstances. Claire closed the album and looked at him directly. What happens now, William, with us? I don't know, he answered honestly. We have a lot to rebuild, a lot of trust to regain. But I know I want to be part of Nia's life and Malik's if you'll let me. And as for us... He took her hand gently. Maybe we can figure that out together, one day at a time. Claire nodded, squeezing his hand in return. It wasn't a grand promise or a guaranteed happy ending, but it was a start, a chance to rebuild what had been broken, and perhaps create something even stronger from the pieces. In the hospital corridor, preparing to head home, William felt an odd sense of peace. The past couldn't be changed, and those 6 years he'd missed of Nia's life would never come back. But the future lay open before them, filled with possibility. For the first time in a long while, William felt genuine hope for what that future might bring. In the weeks following the revelation of Nia's paternity, a new dynamic took shape between William and Claire. What began as visits motivated by obligation and concern gradually turned into something deeper. It was visible in the little things, the way William adjusted Claire's pillows to make her more comfortable, how their fingers brushed when passing objects to each other. They exchanged looks whenever Nia said something amusing. One night, after the children had fallen asleep in the hospital's makeshift children's corner, Claire and William sat by the window, gazing at the city lights. Remember that night on the roof of your old apartment? Claire asked softly. When we stayed up until dawn counting stars. William smiled. Yeah, and we promised that one day we'd go somewhere we could see the entire Milky Way, away from the city lights. We never took that trip, she noted, a hint of sadness in her voice. We still can, William said, the words slipping out before he could think, surprising them both. Claire looked at him, her eyes glistening with tears she didn't shed. Do you think we could really start over, William, after everything? He took her hand gently. I think we already started over the day I found Nia and Malik in that park. I'm scared, Claire admitted, scared I'll ruin it all again, that I don't deserve this second chance. It's not about deserving, William said. It's about choosing a path together day by day, building something new with what we have right now. That night, under the silent witness of the stars barely visible through the hospital window, they shared their first kiss in more than 6 years. A hesitant kiss, full of unanswered questions, but also brimming with promise. Claire's recovery advanced quickly. Intensive physical therapy and her determination to go home produced impressive results. 1 month of steady progress later, Dr. Morgan announced the news everyone had been waiting for. We're ready to discharge Miss Evans tomorrow, he said, smiling at the small family group gathered in Claire's room. She'll need to continue therapy at home and come back for regular checkups, but there's no reason to keep her here any longer. Nia jumped for joy at the announcement, and Malik, now more alert to everything around him, clapped his hands in imitation of his sister. Where are we going? Nia asked, looking between Claire and William. It was a simple question, but charged with meaning. The adults exchanged a glance. Over the last few days, they had talked a lot about the next steps. Claire's small apartment wasn't suitable for the 4 of them, and William's penthouse, though spacious, had stairs and lacked the setup Claire needed for her recovery. I found a new place, William explained. A single-story house with a yard near the park. It's perfect for your mom's recovery, and there's enough room for everyone. We're all going to live together." Nia's eyes sparkled at the idea. "Yes," Claire said, exchanging a shy smile with William. Moving into the new house was both chaotic and joyful. William's friends helped bring Claire's and the children's few belongings from her old apartment, while most of the furniture came from his place. Mariah, the nanny, became an essential part of the team, helping organize everything while Claire was still recovering. The new family routine felt surprisingly natural. William, who once lived alone in a meticulously kept apartment, now found tiny socks between couch cushions and had to navigate hallways full of toys, and he loved every minute of it. Claire, for her part, had to learn to share again, not just her space, but the children's upbringing. Accustomed to doing everything by herself, she now had a partner, someone to share both the joys and the challenges of parenthood. "Funny how some things have changed and others stayed exactly the same," she remarked one evening as they finished cleaning up after dinner. "What do you mean?" William asked, putting away the last plate. "You still fold the towels the exact same way," Claire teased. "And you still get that same focused look when you're working. But at the same time, it's different," William finished. "We're different, older, maybe wiser, stronger, I hope," Claire added, leaning against the counter. "What we have now will need to be stronger." It was on a calm Sunday afternoon, 3 months after Claire left the hospital, that William finally formalized what had become obvious to everyone who knew them. They'd taken the kids for a picnic in the park, the same park where he had found Nia and Malik on that cold night that now felt like another lifetime. While Nia ran around with other children and Malik napped in Claire's arms, William pulled a small box from his pocket. "It's not exactly how I planned it the first time," he admitted, opening the box to reveal a simple yet elegant ring. "But maybe it's more fitting this way, with our kids around us in the place that brought us back together." Claire looked at the ring, then at William, her eyes filling with tears. "Are you sure? Even after everything?" "I've never been so sure of anything," he said, taking her hand. "Claire, will you marry me? Officially build this family that fate has brought together so unexpectedly?" "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The wedding took place on a spring Saturday in the garden of their new home, a house that had become a true home. It was an intimate ceremony with only close friends and family. Nia, glowing in her pink flower girl dress, proudly carried the rings. Malik, perched on his newly met paternal grandmother's lap, watched it all with bright, curious eyes. "For a while, I thought this day would never come," William's mother confessed during the reception, watching her son dance with his new wife. After Claire left, he just closed himself off. "I never thought I'd see him so happy again." "Things happen for a reason," William's father, a man of few words but deep wisdom, replied. Maybe they had to walk their separate paths before finding their way back. In the months that followed, the Evans-Carter family found its rhythm. Claire resumed teaching piano, now in the music room William had built for her in their new house. Nia, taking after her mother, showed growing talent on the piano, delighting everyone with little home recitals. Malik grew healthy and happy. His first steps were celebrated with so much excitement that neighbors came over to check on all the commotion. His cheerful, affectionate personality charmed everyone, especially William, who took on the role of father to him with the same love and dedication he gave Nia. 1 year after the wedding, on a quiet autumn night, the family gathered for a special dinner. There was no particular occasion, just a regular Tuesday meal. But as they sat at the table with candles lit and everyone's favorite food served, William looked around and felt a surge of gratitude that almost took his breath away. There they were, Claire more beautiful than ever, laughing at something Nia had said, Nia, now 7, animatedly explaining a school project, and Malik, almost 2, trying to imitate his sister's words between spoonfuls of mashed potatoes. "A toast," William said, raising his glass. "To our family." "To our family," Claire and Nia echoed, while Malik tapped his spoon happily on the table. Later, after the kids were in bed, Claire and William sat on the porch, something they'd done on countless nights since they'd moved in. The sky was unusually clear, allowing a few bright stars to pierce the city's light pollution. "You know what I think sometimes?" Claire asked, snuggling against William's chest. "That maybe everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to." She lifted her face to look at him. If I hadn't gone through all that alone, maybe we wouldn't value what we have now." William pondered that for a moment. "You might be right. I still regret the lost years, especially with Nia, but I can't deny that the challenges made us stronger, both as individuals and as a couple." "And they gave us Malik," Claire added, smiling. "And they gave us Malik," William agreed, kissing her gently. The path that brought them here had been unlikely and winding, at times painful. It was marked by hard decisions, 6 years of separation, secrets, and ultimately forgiveness. It wasn't easy to rebuild trust, to learn again how to be together, to create a new dynamic that accounted not only for their shared past, but also for the separate lives they'd led. But there, on that peaceful night, with their children sleeping soundly and their love renewed, William and Claire knew that every difficulty had been worth it. Fate had given them a second chance, embodied by 2 children found in a park on a frigid winter night, and they would not waste it. The family they built, forged through trials and redemption, was stronger and more precious than any dream they'd once shared. It was imperfect, complicated, and absolutely wonderful. And most importantly, it was theirs.